The rain hammered against the cracked windows of the abandoned warehouse, as 12-year-old David clutched the meager supplies he'd managed to scavenge from the dumpsters behind the grocery store. Earth's colony on Kepler 442b had fallen on hard times since the trade routes shifted, leaving thousands of families destitute. David's own parents had died in the mining accident 2 years ago, but somehow he'd learned to survive on the streets of New Brisbane. That's when he heard them, soft whimpers echoing from deeper within the warehouse. David crept forward, his flashlight cutting through the darkness until he found them huddled behind a stack of rotting crates. 2 girls, younger than him, their clothes torn and faces streaked with dirt and tears. "Hey," David whispered, kneeling down. "It's okay. I won't hurt you." The older girl, maybe 10 years old, pulled the smaller one closer. "Go away," she said, but her voice trembled with exhaustion rather than conviction. "I'm David. What are your names?" After a long moment, the older girl spoke. "I'm Mino. This is my sister Kara. Our parent, they're gone." David's heart clenched. He recognized that particular kind of emptiness in their eyes, the same one he saw in mirrors. Without hesitation, he pulled out the bread and protein bars he'd found, offering them to the girls. "Here, you need this more than I do." For the next 3 years, David became their protector, their provider, their family. He taught them how to find food, how to stay warm during the brutal winters, how to avoid the gangs that prowled the abandoned districts. When Mino fell sick with lung fever, David worked extra jobs cleaning restaurant kitchens just to afford her medicine. When Kara broke her arm falling from a fire escape, David carried her 6 miles to the free clinic. But David never told them about the dreams. Every night, he dreamed of stars, not the dim, distant lights visible through New Brisbane's smoggy atmosphere, but brilliant living stars that seemed to call his name. In these dreams, he flew between worlds on ships made of crystalline light, and voices spoke to him in languages he somehow understood, telling him he was meant for something greater. He dismissed them as the fantasies of a desperate street kid, until the day everything changed. David was 19 now, working at a recycling plant during the day and taking care of Mino and Kara in their small apartment he'd managed to rent. The girls had grown into strong, intelligent young women, Mino studying engineering through online courses, Kara showing remarkable talent for mathematics, despite never having formal schooling. That morning started like any other, until the sky split open. The massive ship descended through the clouds like a falling cathedral, its hull gleaming with an opalescent sheen that seemed to shift between colors that had no names. It was easily a kilometer long, dwarfing every human vessel David had ever seen. The entire city fell silent as the ship settled in the main plaza with impossible grace. David felt something stirring in his chest, a recognition he couldn't explain. "David," Mino breathed, pointing at their apartment's window. "Look at the markings on that ship." The symbols carved into the vessel's hull pulsed with soft light, and David's breath caught. They were the same symbols from his dreams, the ones that had whispered to him in the darkness for years. A delegation emerged from the ship, beings that looked almost human, but moved with an ethereal quality, their skin bearing the same opalescent sheen as their vessel. They wore robes that seemed woven from starlight itself, and when they spoke, their voices carried across the entire city. Without amplification, "We seek David Harrison of Terra Colony, New Brisbane," their leader announced. "The one who chose love over survival, who gave his own sustenance to strangers, who raised sisters not of his blood as his own family." David's legs nearly gave out. "How do they know my name?" Kara grabbed his arm. "David, you have to go to them." "I can't leave you both." "You must," Mino interrupted, tears streaming down her face. "Don't you see? This is why you've been having those dreams. This is your destiny." The next few hours passed in a blur. The beings, who called themselves the Etherian Council, explained that they were an ancient race that had been watching human colonies across the galaxy, searching for individuals who embodied the highest qualities of their species. They had observed David's selfless acts through quantum surveillance networks, monitoring not just his actions but the pure intention behind them. "Your species shows great promise," the council leader explained to the gathering crowd. But we needed to find humans who could represent the best of what you might become. David Harrison has proven that even in the darkest circumstances, humanity chooses compassion over cruelty, family over self-interest. They offered David something unprecedented, a chance to join their interstellar academy, to learn technologies beyond human comprehension, and eventually to serve as an ambassador between humanity and the greater galactic community. But David said, looking back at Mino and Kara, "I can't abandon my family." The council leader smiled, the first truly human expression David had seen from them. "We would never ask you to. Your sisters will be provided full scholarships to the academy as well if they choose. After all, they too are part of what makes you worthy, the family you built through choice rather than blood." As their ship lifted off from New Brisbane 3 days later, David stood at the observation deck with Mino and Kara beside him, watching their home world shrink below. The stars that had called to him in dreams now surrounded them in reality, infinite and welcoming. "Thank you," Mino whispered, squeezing his hand. "For everything." David smiled, finally understanding the truth his dreams had been trying to tell him all along. Sometimes the greatest journeys begin not with destiny, but with a simple choice to help someone who needs it. The universe, it seemed, had been watching,